I know a 16-year-old girl, Allison, whose mother had the courage to learn how to love and teach her. That's astonishing in this world. This mother is a hero, since the number of parents who have the faith and courage to do this is, wait for it, tiny. Not joking. Why? Why is it tiny? Why would parents be reluctant to truly love their children and teach them what is true and life-saving? It sounds almost like a stupid question. Why wouldn't parents do what's best for their children? There are some very clear reasons. I'm going to give you just a few. One, because the world doesn't run on the truth. It runs on approval. Pick up a newspaper. Listen to people talk. Go to Facebook. It runs on approval, power, drama, excitement, entertainment, and more. You go pick up anything, anywhere, internet or not, and prove that that's not true. You can't. If you or your children suddenly decide to make your decisions based on the truth rather than what's popular, powerful, entertaining, blah, 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 you will be regarded as odd, weird, antisocial, possibly not woke, and lots more. You really take a risk when you decide to grow because you separate yourself from the pack. But the alternative is that you're a slave to the people who buy and sell approval and excitement all day, every day, without stopping on the internet and everywhere else. They never get tired. Second reason, you may be isolated for a while. If you decide to change direction until you find people who are also willing to take this risk. Third, your children, this might be the most important one, are very likely to resist you. If you decide to change the way you parent, you're changing the rules in the middle of the stream and they're going to go, are you kidding me? They're very likely to withdraw their approval and even be defiant and angry. Parents are, listen, slowly addicted to the approval of their children, or at the very least, addicted to the avoidance of their children's disapproval. What's the difference? But this mother had the courage and began to point out to Allison the things that she was doing to earn the approval of her friends, especially at school. Allison had to be perfect. I'm just giving you some examples of how she earned approval. She had to be perfect in her appearance. She might neglect other responsibilities, but she never missed her grooming before school and before bed. She spent an hour every morning only on the skin on her face. Cleaning, tweezing, creams, makeup, and all the other stuff that I don't know anything about. 2, choosing clothing every morning was a meticulous process, ritual. Everything had to be just so. And when she achieved the right combination, there was like a mini celebration. You've all seen this, if you're paying attention. You've all heard variations on, oh, look, Mom, what do you think about my outfit? That's not actually a question. That's actually, praise me, and I'll sit here and take the praise. 3, her hair had to be perfect. And it was. I've seen her. I've seen pictures of her. Not a hair out of place. 4, she was a slave to Sophie, the girl leading the particular group she participated in, the little clique at school. In effect, the boss of the group. She had to agree with the boss's opinion, laugh at the boss's jokes, do what the boss wanted to do, sit where the boss wanted before school and at lunch. Does that sound like slavery? Yeah, it is. Voluntary. Earning approval is a lot of work. And gradually and stealthily, it just sucks away the self-worth of the buyer. The erosion of worth is almost never noticed by the approval earner, but it is so real. Think. If you have to buy the approval of other people, what does that say about your worth? That you're worthless without something to sell. Yuck. And Allison was getting this feedback every day, all day. As Mom pointed out, what Allison was doing, as she was pointing out to Allison what she was doing to earn approval, Allison realized how little return she was getting on her investment. What she got from all that work was the brief, superficial acceptance of people she didn't even want to be like or be with. She was just addicted to the approval. Her what she called friends, were superficial people who fed off the approval of everyone, who lived on a sense of superiority and condescension, and who were not peaceful or genuinely happy. But how would Allison know? Everybody lived like that. Allison began to realize that she was selling herself for, well, nothing. Wow. And that is true for most people, but they never realize it. Whether they're a teenage girl or like the man I talked to minutes ago, 45 years old, and is still selling himself and is a slave. So if we don't see it, we can never change it. Allison made the almost unbelievable decision to do something about it. Until you do something about what you've learned, you haven't learned anything. That was a pivotal moment in one of the few things I ever learned in college. You haven't learned anything until it changes your behavior. That just pounded in my head for years. She got up one morning and she skipped her skin routine like horrors. She didn't wash her hair, so it looked, in her opinion, greasy and sloppy. Her friends didn't say anything, but she noticed an immediate sense of increased confidence in herself that she hadn't noticed before. You can't fake this stuff. She felt more confident because she was less a slave. That's the goal. It's not having greasy hair. It's being confident in being who you are. When Sophie told a joke, Allison didn't feel obligated to laugh. It felt good to be, using her word, free. Huh. How fun would it be to live like that? Allison talked to her mother at the end of the second day and said, "My friends are definitely noticing that something is up, that I'm different. I show up in sweats. My hair is just neglected. I challenged myself not to make a new braid," because she would do that every day, like, of course. "I kept the old braid from yesterday, which suffered from a day of, school and volleyball and sleeping." End quote. Mom said, "All day you get to remember that you're loved, independent from your looks. So when people dislike you or ridicule you for your looks, or if they do, it's just information about them. You can think, oh, well, good to know. That's the kind of person I don't want to be friends with, as opposed to, I'm a terrible person." And Mom continued, "And then you'll find it so much easier to let go of your old obsession with looks. It makes you a prisoner." During the third day, Allison texted me several times, noticing how different she was feeling. And with each text, she sensed a touch of connection. Each time she would just press the little buttons and click send to me, she felt a little connection. Why? Because she was reaching out and being herself instead of trying to impress me with whatever, how she looked, blah, blah, blah. She was being herself. At the end of the day, she spoke to her mother and said, quote, "It's almost embarrassing now to see how I used to feel obligated to laugh at other people's jokes, especially Sophie's," the boss. "For the first time, I noticed that when Sophie says something that she thinks is clever, she looks around to make sure other people laugh with her." She was noticing that Sophie's actually really insecure. She's not confident like everybody thinks. She has to look around to go, do you like me when I say that? She continues, "I just didn't feel like laughing, so I didn't. I felt strange at first, but then I realized I felt stronger." Yeah, no kidding. Mom said, "It's fun being more awake, isn't it? You're more yourself. You're not controlled by her anymore. You're a little worried that she won't like you. Understandable, that you won't have any friends now. It's a little uncomfortable. Remember that I love you." This is where a parent's love comes in. How can a daughter possibly remember that her mother loves her if mom hasn't proven that before with unconditional love? If you haven't unconditionally loved your kids, they will choose buying the approval of their friends. Guaranteed. So she said to her daughter, "Remember, I love you. Remember, there are other people that love you. And you'll see how things will turn out with Sophie." She didn't push her. She said, "You'll see. She probably won't like losing control of you, but now you can choose not to care. You're practicing being you and being loved for being real. It's unfamiliar, but you're liking it." Mom told me that then, this stuff is so cool. Allison then just sat in her lap, curled up, and fell asleep. Can't fake that stuff. It's quite a testament to the safety and relief Allison was feeling. What would you give to have a moment where your child spontaneously came up and curled up in your lap and fell asleep without you demanding it or manipulating for it in some way? Like, I'll give you a new car. No, that doesn't count. Early on the morning of the fourth day, I talked to Allison. The fourth day. So it's been 3 days from the beginning. I talked to her on a video call. She was beaming. The power radiating from her was visible. She said, I can't believe how I've always molded myself. She used that word to become what other people wanted. Yuck. I like living this way better. I think I'm going to shave my head. The girl of the 2-hour routine, then the hair and the makeup. I'm going to shave my head and get rid of this obsession with how I look, end quote. I thought, well, that would certainly give you a different perspective. But I didn't want her to get too crazy in a moment. So I said, look, I have no attachment to what you do with your hair. You could shave it, or you could just not wash it as often and tie it up in a bun or a ponytail, I'm sure I'm using all the wrong hair words. Whatever works for you. By the standards of the world, you are already physically beautiful. So the temptation to focus on that asset would be very strong. Your willingness to focus on something more important is proof of that inner strength and beauty that I've been describing to you. Allison said, somebody's going to comment on my hair soon, whether I shave it or not. If I do, I think I know what I'll say. If they say, what have you done? Why did you do that? I think I'll just say, what do you mean? I'm still me. It's just hair. Those are her words. If they ask why I cut it, I'll just say, I felt like it. If I explain it more than that, I'll be trying to minimize their disapproval. I'm having feelings I've never had. I'm noticing people around me that I would have criticized in the past for not looking quite right. I'm accepting people I would have dismissed before. I'm talking to them. I like this. And I said, you're having fun being you. It's fun to watch you be you. She said, yesterday, Sophie was sitting next to me in English, and she complained about how stupid the teacher was and how she hadn't explained the assignment right. I would never have known what to say to her before except to complain with her. This time I remembered stuff, ready, that my mom had taught me. Remember, Mom had the courage to learn to love and teach. So I said, you're right. She doesn't explain things well. So now we can complain about her, or we could raise our hand and ask for more explanation. End quote. She should teach business school. And I said, what you're doing is courageous and faithful. Instead of buying approval from people who aren't going to accept who you are anyway, you're just being yourself. And in the process, you gradually and naturally eliminate the people who would never see you or genuinely care about you. You don't reject them. You just weed them out by being yourself. You weed them out. You be yourself and they just sort of go away. It's relatively effortless. And this little girl, this little teenage kid said, I like living this way. That's kind of the whole point, ain't it? 16 years old. And this young lady is grasping the power of love. It's freeing her from the shackles of the world and all of its lies and distractions. She's experiencing what it's like to be herself. Which of us listening wouldn't give anything to experience what she is? Well, a lot of us. She's a rare human being, loved and taught by a rare mother. Now she has a life of freedom and power before her. She has a brilliant future with innumerable choices that would simply not have been available before. This is the kind of effect we can have as we love and teach our children. This girl, you can do this. It takes persistence and faith and courage, but you can do that. You'll never do anything more important, either for your children or yourself.